And welcome back to Watches Live. It's the only show we film on this channel, so you are in the right place. Welcome one, welcome all. I'm giving away a watch, Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch 145022. It is a vintage moonwatch, and you could win it in the 50th year following the moon landing. It's my February giveaway watch, so time is limited. Be in it to win it, link in the description. Friends from around the world joining in. Your connection's probably better than mine, so I'll see it trickle in just a moment. Let's start with a big piece. Instant gratification. High horology, the best of 25 pieces for 2018. This was the comeback watch for de Bethune. Purchased by Three-Stone Capital and given a second lease on life with an injection of funds, de Bethune launched the steel wheels for 2018. 25 pieces. The watch is 42.8 millimeters in grade 5 titanium, technically the DB28 steel wheels. The watch features the DB28's signature floating or spring-loaded modular lugs. Not only do they change the geometry and the fit of the watch on the wrist, but they can actually be resized. Long lugs, short lugs, intermediate. You can have it adjusted when you send the watch in for service at de Bethune. Now let's get a little bit closer because there is a lot to see on this dial. Steel wheels, and the two wheels are the skeletonized and visible twin mainspring barrels. The watch with a manual wind 6-day power reserve. This is caliber 2115 V4, and as you can see, just about nothing is left to the imagination. Let's start with the moon phase right at the base of the dial. Now it is a bimetallic moon phase. You have a combination of blued steel and palladium. One side is silver, one side is blue. The moon phase has an adjustment interval of 1,112 years. Moving up, just above that, you can see the extraordinary in-house balance. That's right, everything. The hairspring with its oblong off-centered kilt. You could see the triple parachute shock protection system with shock protection springs on each side of the balance bridge. Triple parachute with Inca block at center. You have the white gold independent masses on the blued titanium balance wheel. I talked a little bit about that hairspring. Let me show it to you. You see it best from this angle. You can see it lighting up. It is not a circular hairspring. The idea being to create the concentric beating and perfectly centered mass of an overcoil without an overcoil's vulnerability to shocks. Now moving a little bit higher, though you can't quite see it, there is also a silicon escape wheel of de Bethune's own design. A lot of tech. Moving up, we have a Delta style bridge, skeletonized of course with Cote de Bethune. That's what that wave-like texture is called, and you can see that the triple parachute shock protection system converges on the center where there is a black polished grade 5 titanium bridge that mounts the cannon pinion. You have both blued titanium minute hand and a fully sapphire hour hand so that you can see everything beneath all the time underneath the hour hand itself. Outboard, a blued titanium chapter ring inside of the serrated Rayhaut, and each of the individual globes representing the hours, a high-polished grade 5 titanium orb. Now you turn it over, there's not quite as much on the case back as you might imagine, as the case back is devoted principally to a power reserve scale, and you can see the mechanism. Exquisite use of perlage, I must say, but all the action, save the power reserve indicator itself, is on the dial side of this watch. Turn it over one more time, and you can see the depth of this dial. It's not just intricate, it has a wonderful depth from top to bottom. A watch that's not exceptionally thick. It's only about 12.5 millimeters thick. This one wears on any wrist, and now I'm going to bring it to life, because this is the type of watch that really needs to be seen. Now it features a bullhead style winding system, and it does require quite a bit of winding before those twin self-adjusting mainspring barrels bring the escapement to life. Once it starts, it beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it is an extraordinary thing to see, but I wanted you to see that proprietary balance before it begins its gyrations. You give it a little bit of assistance, and now it beats away. You can see this is an extraordinary watch, and only 25 people will ever have the pleasure, but it's been my pleasure to share it with you. I'm going to throw it on the wrist and give you a sense. Shout outs to our friends joining us. We can see Joe Differ was first in the box. Jacob Casper from Austin, Eric Nielsen joining in, Mark Lisenby from Kentucky, Russell 996. Hi, Russell, Eddie Landsberg, I can see Andrew, I can see Tom P, True Lie, Josh Beverly, O'Neill Miller, Kevin S, Pablo Wolf, Azem T, Dave the Watch Guy, DGB, BS, John Smith, welcome all, and I can see Adrian C joining us from the Midwest. We've got friends from England, we've got friends from Portland, Canada, and Bud asking everyone ready for Basel. You better believe it, Mr. Smoky 636 from London. Okay, this is not a big watch. It's a broad watch, but it's not a heavy piece. It's easy to wear, and because of the variable geometry of the lugs, it sits flush even on my wrist. Extravagant? Certainly, but this is a watch that has miles of style. 150 pieces a year total from de Bethune, so we are talking true exclusivity. And check this, it comes with its own punch-a-majig for toggling the moon phase. They even blued the titanium of the pusher adjuster. Right. I can see Rich Buddy joining in from California. Let's jump to something a bit more democratic. Let's jump to the title card watch from the thumbnail. All right, this is the GMT-Master, not Master 2, Master. A bit of a backstory. I've had clients periodically call me up asking how to set the second time zone on their GMT-Master 2, only for me to discover that what they'd actually purchased was some version of a GMT-Master. Before 1983, there was no such thing as a true dual-time Rolex GMT. The 24-hour hand always represented an AM-PM indicator for the local hour, and you would use the bezel to offset from the GMT offset of your destination, the port or airport of entry. So you would set the watch to GMT if you wanted to read the local time. Otherwise, you were just looking at a very elaborate AM-PM indicator. Well, in 1983, with the Sophia Loren, the 16760, you could finally set that 24-hour hand independently from the 12, which left it to the 16700 to carry the original torch. This watch was made from 1988 through about 1999, and it was the last true GMT Master, that is a single time zone watch with a pilot style bezel. 40 millimeters, the watch that you see here is an E series from 1990, and it has a V series 1996 bracelet, and the watch is 40 millimeters, hollow center links, hollow end links. It wears old school, but it does have a few modern features. 100-meter water resistant case. The watch features a full bridge free sprung balance caliber 3175. It features a white gold index, white gold hand dial. It features a sapphire crystal, and rare on GMTs, a quick set date. The quick set date was only ever available on some intermediate transitional reference GMTs and the 16700. So you either have a 16750 or a 16700, or you don't have a quick set date. The GMT Master 2 does not have a quick set date. Now this timepiece is an interesting one because in a lot of ways, though it's less functional than a GMT Master 2, it's also sort of the GMT version of the no-date sub, the most traditional, the original, and the closest living descendant, or I should say recent descendant, of the pioneering first reference. So consider this GMT Master to be the no-date sub of GMTs. Friends in the box. Dave the Watch Guy saying, seeing de Bethune at Watches and Wonders was awesome. Besides Roger Dubuis, they are my favorite watches. Josh Beverly said, ready to see what Rolex cancels at Basel. I'm ready to see what Rolex debuts at Basel. We got friends, Russell 9 and 6, hi to all fellow UK watchers. Guys, tell me where you're from. I'm periodically going to read off our roster. Bill Hager joining us from San Francisco, and we've got Dr. Phaedrus from Bensalem, Pennsylvania. All right, jumping in, we've got AWOL from Ontario. I'm going to give you a sports watch that's an unlikely Daytona rival. The Speedmaster Reduced was made from the late 1980s until about 2009, and in many respects, this late build model, which was constructed from 2006 to 2009, is an unlikely rival to the Rolex Cosmograph. Why? Because the Moonwatch has very little in common with the Daytona, even though they're often compared. The Daytona's a 40, the Moonwatch is a 42. The Daytona has a sapphire, the Moonwatch has a Hesalite. The Daytona is an automatic, the Moonwatch is a manual wind. And of course, the Daytona, being 100-meter water resistant, can go where a Moonwatch cannot with its 50-meter rating. What you see here is the Speedy Reduced, sapphire crystal, late build. You know you're looking at it because it features no Arabic numerals outside of the indices. Outboard of the hour indices, if you see Arabic numerals, it's the earlier Speedmaster Reduced. Sapphire crystal, no date dial, automatic winding, 39 millimeters and 100 meters water resistant. This is an unlikely Daytona rival for a fraction of the price, and has all of the essential design language of a Speedmaster with some capability that you're not going to get on a Moonwatch. It's also wonderfully wearable, being an automatic timepiece only about 45 millimeters from lug to lug, a little less in fact. Anyone can wear this watch. So if you're looking for a watch that has the clean tri-register dial, approximate size, functions, and capabilities of a Daytona, you can absolutely buy a Speedmaster. No need to go Moonwatch. The Reduced, the last of the line, the 06 to 09 is the one to own. Luminova dial, tank tough, upgraded clasp, upgraded bracelet. This is the one. If you want a Daytona for like a quarter of the price, you want to go with this one. But if you want to go with something that has a date, isn't quite as new as the 06 to 09 that I just showed you, but has a wonderful historical backstory. If you're a motorsports fan, especially a Schumacher fan, this one will have a special meaning to you. This is the 2002 model year tribute to Michael Schumacher's 2001 season triumph. His 4th title of 7, his 2nd with Ferrari. The timepiece you see here is the Schumacher Speedmaster Date Limited Edition. How limited? Not really. It was a limited edition of 11,111 pieces, which is to say it's more of a special piece than a scarce piece. You can see world champion Michael Schumacher. Unlike the original 1996 Schumachers, which were advertised in conjunction with Schumacher in press copy but not labeled Schumacher in any way, this is truly a Schumacher commemorative with his John Hancock etched in the case back. Now the watch also features a signature dial. As you can see, the chronograph hours featuring the racing script underneath. You also have one reminding you of the year of Schumacher's triumph, and a carbon fiber dial base to give it a lustrous and three-dimensional, almost holographic aesthetic. My favorite feature here is the use of red borders for the indices. All of that is illumined. You'll note polished rather than the white varnished hands you find on a standard Speedmaster Reduced. It's not a standard Speedy Reduced because it has a date and an oversized and yes, fully luminescent 1 on the dial side. This one's also a 39mm, but you can see it's just a bit more upscale. You have solid end-link bracelet, and you also have a polished tachymeter rather than an anodized aluminum insert. This is a handsome watch and a wonderful one to wear. It also features an unconventional, old-school Omega extensible clasp bracelet that wears well on the wrist and feels a little bit like Omega's answer to the Rolex President. It's not a large link, it's a 3-link narrow link, and you can see it wears well on my 16cm circumference wrist. That's a handsome piece. I'm not a Schumacher fan, full disclosure. I didn't like the way he drove. I didn't like the way he created unnecessary danger. I didn't like the way he rammed people off the track. All the same, he is unarguably the greatest driver in the history of Formula One. He has many fans, and the watches made in his name were undoubtedly cool. Joining in, I can see we've got Jess8414 joining from Texas. We have Jason Y starting again, and I'm not sure what that refers to, but I never get these antecedent comments you guys are mentioning. I love that you have a chat dynamic in there, and I believe we have Claudio from our boutique ready to answer any questions about availability and pricing. We have Bojangle Brett saying, "Hey Tim, greetings from Sydney, Australia. Should I trade my Rolex 116710 LN GMT-Master 2 for a 90s Pepsi?" It depends. What's the condition of the 90s Pepsi? Are we talking a Master 2 or a Master? Are we talking a Coke or a Pepsi? This matters. Are we talking some sort of two-tone, some sort of solid gold piece? Are we talking a Tiffany? There are a lot of factors that go into that equation, and you have to consider all of them. Ultimately, I would consider which watch you would rather own and wear, because at the end of the day, if you're not wearing them, who cares? You may as well put your money in bonds. Buy the watch that you want to wear. That's my advice right there. Bump, bump, bump. Attilo Escobar joining us, pardon me, probably Attilo Escobar. Tennessee in the house. Excellent. All right. And Christopher Peterson saying, Ayrton Senna better than Michael. Probably. He certainly was faster than Michael. It took a long time and many more races for Michael to beat his fastest lap tally count. Okay, let's talk about a high horology watch. I think we have a timepiece from 2009 that we can all agree is stellar. This is the Vacheron Constantin Patrimony Traditionnel Chronograph 47192. Now this watch was originally the Patrimony Traditionnel before the lines were split to Patrimony and Traditionnel in 2015. The watch came out in 2009, 42mm in white gold. It did battle with the last of the Patek Philippe 5070s. The watch is of that size and it's of that ilk as it features the same movement inside. Vacheron calls this a 1141, Patek called it the CH2770, and let me wind it up because you really need to see this one come to life. Giant oversized balance, almost 1/3 the size of the movement. The movement beautifully decorated with a rare feature. You can see it just off the center of the balance, but it has a hairspring anti-hooking guard strung from the balance bridge to the bridge adjacent, and that's designed to prevent an overcoil from doubling up over itself due to shock. You can see this is a very traditional chronograph. Lateral clutch because it's beautiful, because it's gorgeous and obscures nothing. You could see a black polished column wheel with a black polished screw between its crenellated peaks. Now you can also see As I disengage, I can recenter everything with the hammers. This is an overwhelming piece of unrivaled elegance. Cool grayscale on the dial. You could see a combination of applique, white gold indices, and half-frosted Dauphine hands. This timepiece has a full wrist presence. At about 50 millimeters lug to lug, it fills the wrist without overwhelming the wrist. It's only about 11 millimeters thick. This is as good as it gets. And as you can see, if you want a dress chronograph to fit underneath a cuff, they don't come any better than this, and for a fraction of a 5070G with the exact same running gear. Remember, that movement, the Lemania 2310 Bausch, went to the moon as the Omega 321, recently reborn. And I think, by the way, Attilio Escobar, I think I mangled your name. I think it's Attilio Escobar. My apologies. All right, Adrian C. saying that is a beautiful thing. Charlie Ryan joining in. Dustin Van Patten is a fan. And you know what? Frankly, I don't blame you at all. That thing stuns. That's one of the best kept secret in watches, the Patrimony Traditional Chronograph. Let's talk about something that is different from anything we've discussed so far. This is a watch that's big, but not as big as you think. In 2015, Tag Heuer launched the Carrera Heuer 01, and that was a 45. Discreetly, in 2017, they launched a 43 millimeter version with a blue ceramic tack as its bezel, highly scratch resistant, a 43 millimeter steel case with those iconic thrusting and angular Carrera lugs. The watch actually has an open dial like you'll see on many Zenith and Hublot timepieces, but unlike those, this one's easily readable with the polished indices standing out against the dial base. Here's my argument for buying this instead of an open dial Zenith Dayfi or an Hublot Big Bang. First, the movement that's inside is a Seiko. Reborn as the Tag Heuer 1887, it was renamed the caliber Heuer 01. At heart, it's a Seiko 6S37, which means it's a vertical clutch column wheel hacking second quickset date. What does an El Primero not have? It doesn't have hacking seconds. What else does it not have? A vertical clutch chronograph. You can start it without any stagger or jump. You can stop it without any stagger. You can reset it precisely, and if you want, you can leave it running because of the vertical clutch. And El Primero doesn't have that. What does an Hublot not have? This value proposition for way under $6,000. You're getting yourself into a watch that is as well as, if not better built than an Hublot, with a movement that is more sophisticated than any caliber 400 El Primero. All of this 100 meters water resistant, and it's not as big as you think. 51 across the wrist. The watch is more thick than anything else, but it does wear easily and comfortably. It's an all-around sports watch with an open dial that lets you appreciate the movement from the dial side and a very crisp column wheel action. I can attest to the fact that this red column wheel underneath the caseback is sharp. You feel it, you hear it. It's as good as they come. It's on par with an El Primero in terms of pusher feel, and right up there I would even say with the Datograph in terms of tactile feedback and sound. This is a watch that is not for all, but it's better than you expect, and it surprises you. If you underestimate Tag Heuer, you gotta reconsider, because watches like this prove they are spending their money in the right places. Jumping in. I see we now have 208 viewers. Guys, stay with me. Help me to put up a big number tonight. And I could say Philip A. Wing saying, you know what an El Primero does have? An incredible movement when resetting the chronograph. That's a fact. Reset with an El Primero, especially as the reset is partially spring-loaded. All of that is very special, and it's as important as the start-stop. I will say the 1887, or NE 1887, now Heuer 01, has a sharp feel for start, stop, and reset, but the El Primero does have a better reset. That is a good point. And I could see Claudio in there with the price on the pieces. Anything you're interested in, Claudio's my man downstairs. He's my man in the box. He can let you know. Okay, a watch that I sort of saw coming, but not at a weird, off-kilter 41st anniversary. Launched in 1975, the Girard-Perregaux Laureato was a watch of its times, a quartz timepiece featuring what was then a techie in-house GP quartz movement. It was a Genta-style mid-70s steel integrated bracelet, integrated lug, geometric bezel sports watch. I expected it to come back in 2015, the 40th anniversary of the Laureato. Instead, it came back in 2016, which was the 41st 1st anniversary of the Laureato, but the 225th anniversary of Girard-Perregaux. More honestly, the 225th anniversary of Bott, a watchmaking company that Girard-Perregaux bought in the early 20th century to supply its cases and bracelets. Still, it is in-house patrimony dating back to 1791, and for 225 years of Girard-Perregaux, it's celebrated with 225 pieces of its most celebrated sports watch. 41 millimeters in steel. The watch is only 11.1 millimeters thick, so nice and slim on the wrist. 41 millimeters puts it right about on par with a 40 millimeter, or 41 millimeter, I should say, Royal Oak 15400, but I also have to say it has a different look because unlike the Royal Oak and the Nautilus, which feature the bezels as screwed-in components, or screwed-on components, I should say, here the bezel is a structural part of the case that threads into the case. As a result, it has a much harder external geometry, that of a threaded fixture that's designed to be placed with a tool rather than a rounded octagon as you'll see on the Genta Nautilus and the Royal Oak. The watch is handsome. It has a wonderfully integrated bracelet, and inside a Girard-Perregaux manufactured caliber. That's a 3300, nicely decorated, a handsome 46-hour high horology, ultra-thin automatic. The watch came in 2 versions, with a hobnail silver dial and a hobnail blue dial. This is probably the more classical of the two, with the blue being a bit sportier, but this is also the one that makes it look a bit less like a Royal Oak or Nautilus. 225 pieces. This is a very cool watch. Did I say this was 11.1? I meant it's 10.6. This is a slim and fine sports watch, nicely rendered and distinctive of Girard-Perregaux, a brand that has a lot of potential. And I can see Clover68 saying, hello from Triangle. Right here we have Ripper44X saying he thinks it's an AP knockoff. Short was born around the same time, but it was quartz and not a Genta design. True, but the Vacheron 222 and the Rolex Oyster Quartz were not Genta designs, born in that era. And frankly, I love both, and a lot of folks are fans of those references. Gerald Genta does not have a monopoly on good ideas, although he had many. Bump, 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 jumping straight in. We have Bobby Smith joining in. Good evening, Tim. And then Nana Isaka asking, Tim, would you choose a JLC Navy SEALs alarm or an Explorer as a classic everyday watch? Well, considering a Navy SEALs alarm is a super aggressive diver, and an Explorer is pretty much the most versatile watch you can buy, I would probably go with the Navy SEALs only because it's already so similar to the Zinn I'm wearing. I love the JLC brand, and an alarm is the king of complications, especially if you travel. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Linde Werdelin, a brand we don't discuss much. I have to give credit to these guys. Back in the Watch You Want days, Jorn Werdelin was the only brand chieftain to come on my show and actually do an interview with me and talk about his company, talk about his experience running a brand. Well, they launched their first watches in 2005. This is the by 4 meter 2-timer, one of their earliest models. 46 millimeters in yellow gold. It's not as big as you think, being only 12.2 millimeters thick and 49 millimeters lug to lug. The case is designed to serve as a docking point for the Reef or the Rock, which are professional grade sports computers that they designed in Denmark and built in Denmark. So either watch, the sports land models, which are called Speedo, or the models typically called Octo, can wear either of the modules. And the watch is nice and slim on the wrist, rotating bezel, and it features an ETA 2893 ultra-thin dual time. This is an unconventional look, as you rarely see oversized sports watches that are also ultra-thin and yellow gold. It's a good look too, and it wears easily on a small wrist. I love the ergonomics of this piece. Now, let's finish with a bang, starting with a big bang. 48 millimeters in titanium, launched in 2009. This is the Blancpain 50 Fathoms 500 Fathoms, sandwich-style dial for the quarter Arabics with luminescent black portions. That's actually black luminova with metallic sections for contrast. Full cambered sapphire-capped unidirectional bezel, 48 millimeters, 1,000 meters water-resistant helium escape valve, 50 pieces. This was a 50-piece limited edition for the Cannes Boat Show. I know you think the film festival. It was the 32nd Cannes Boat Show. hand-finished propeller-style winding mass, 5-day power reserve automatic free-sprung, 5-position adjusted caliber 13-15. I've seen these run to 1 second a day. This is a gorgeous watch. Only 53.5 millimeters lug to lug. I can wear it, and I can say, even if your wrist is 15 centimeters, in titanium 53.5 lug to lug, you will be able to wear this watch. This thing is mobile Chernobyl with a lume shot at night that will scorch your eyes. And jumping into a watch that is a little bit more accessible, both in price and size, it's the IWC Pilot's Watch Mark 18 Laureus Sport for Good Edition, a 2018 41mm black ceramic series of 1,500 pieces. This was the 12th Laureus Sport for Good edition since 2004, and you can see an image drawn by a young Brazilian girl of 11 years who submitted it and won a contest. This is the favored charity of Richemont, and as you can see, it's a striking look with a polished 41mm black ceramic case and a blue sunburst style. The black and blue look is effective, and if you're like me and you hate to scratch a watch, you're going to love the nearly scratch-proof ceramic case. Screw-down crown, 60 meters, water-resistant, and a soft iron inner cage for anti-magnetism. This watch actually has all of the toys. It's even pretty thin, just over 11 millimeters thick. I like that piece. Not as much as I like this piece. Arnold Son DSTB, or I should say DSTB, Dead Second True Beat. A watch launched in 2015, white gold, 43.5 millimeters, 125 pieces. Let's get super close to the dial, guys. There is a Paul-based deadbeat second. The watch has 2 heartbeats. One is 8 beats per second, one is a single beat per second. Celebrating the nautical heritage of the Arnold Son nomenclature, note the sunburst on this dial, which originates not from the center, but from the lacquered dial fixed with screws. That's the origin point of the sunburst. Now you turn it all over. By the way, that sapphire ring for the seconds, gorgeous. And you have a high horology movement that is finished accordingly. Guilloche cut, 22 karat, not 21, not 18, not tungsten, 22 karat guilloche cut winding mass. 45-hour power reserve, beaten away at 4 hertz, 28.8. You could see Côte de Rayonnette or Côte de Soleil across all of the bridges. The Côte de Rayonnette is a wonderful take on Côte de Genève that's anything but generic. You'll note that there is a double spiral on the ratchet wheel atop the balance. All of the screws are fired, not chemically blued, and you can see that the edge of every bridge is mirror finish, real, fat, perfectly hand-executed, optically smooth englage, not a machined bevel. This is a wonderful watch from a brand that is undersold and underappreciated. Arnold & Son is the brand, the house brand of the manufacturer La Jouperay, itself owned by the Citizen Empire. This is as good as Swiss watchmaking comes. We need to talk about these guys in the same breath as Zenith, Girard-Perregaux, La Suite Originale, and yes, Jaeger-LeCoultre. They can do it all, and they do it all under one roof. Finally, because I like to finish with a literal bang, not a figurative bang, I have a timepiece hitherto unseen on this program. This is the FP Journe Repetition Souveraine, 40 millimeters in stainless steel. Yes, stainless steel with a full stainless steel clasp. This is the FP Journe minute repeater, first shown in 2008, brought to market in 2009. You can see on the case back an inertial regulator, as well as solid 18-karat rose gold bridges and plates, twin mainspring barrels, 56-hour power reserve, and a hidden train. Let's get super close, guys. Super close here, and then we're going to go to the dial side. But you can see that the train, from the barrels to the escapement, is entirely hidden under the dial side of the watch. Black polished strikers. The watch was subject to 2 patents. One, a rack and snail system that reads the time and translates it to chimes, that is ultra thin, allowing the watch to be slim in profile, under 12 millimeters. Moreover, the watch with a set of scythe-shaped gongs that are ultra-compact, allowing the watch to be as tightly packaged as it is, with a special set of royal blue calibrations and numerals on the dial side rather than the standard black. Now I'm going to turn this watch to 1259 and fire it up. It is loud. It has a singing sustain. It has a ringing tone and a lyrical musicality about it that will leave you spellbound. I know it did as much for me. Guys, we're going to fire this up and do our best to hear and see. And that chime means we have hit our time. I can't tap that, guys. Thanks to you, thanks to my crew, thanks to everyone who chimed in. I appreciate your audience. I appreciate your participation. I appreciate Claudio's participation as well. Thank you so much. Let me know in the chat box. Let me know in the comment box which was your favorite. Enter to win my Speedmaster Professional. Thank you so much. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on.